are. So welcome everyone. This is watercolor, and we will do a step-by-step watercolor. So don't think that I'll go so fast that you can't keep up. We are going to do an owl. There are two screens. One will be me actually doing the painting along with you. So I just have a drawing. So I'm starting with a pretty well blank slate or canvas, just like you are. So this is watercolor 6 by 9 inch paper. It's Canson watercolor paper that I actually get at Walmart, sometimes different stores, but it's available at Michael's or through Amazon. It's a 140 pound. If you're working with less than 140 pounds, you may be frustrated with some of the paper that you're using. So 140 is just about the lowest. So I'll talk about what you would need for this art project. But before that, let's just take a few deep breaths and we'll just get into art, an art mode. If you have any troubles, anything that is on your mind, deeply worrisome, just set that aside. Give yourself this gift of 1 hour just to try, as I said, to be with like-minded artists and to try something new. So we'll just take a deep breath in and hold it at the top of the breath, and then let it out. And it's your choice, fast or slow, but just take that pause at the top, and that is actually a little bit meditative. So we'll start a deep breath in, hold it, and out. And really drop your shoulders down when you do that. We hold a lot of tension here, so just see if you can release some of that. Another deep breath in, and hold it, and release. And one more deep breath in, and hold it, and release. Drop those shoulders down. And when you're hanging on to your paintbrush, you don't need to hang on to it like life depends on it. It's just a paintbrush, it's just water. This is just a piece of paper. If you're not happy with the first time what you paint, you've got the drawing. You can draw it again and paint it again. And you can paint this owl any number of colors. I chose a light green, which is a sap green, but you can choose other colors and repaint it purple if you like. It's a little bit of an abstract, but a fun project. So we'll just start with some color. I'm going to get my brush wet. I'm actually using a number 8. It's a little bit bigger. It's just a rounded brush. So I'll just hold it up against the canvas. You can see just a rounded brush, and it's a number 8. It's actually Artist Loft, so it's not the high-end brushes. And I'm just going to use, so we'll need just 2 buckets of water. One you'll keep clear, one you'll use for cleaning your brushes. Some paper towel would be handy. Of course, your brushes. And if you have a gift card or a credit card, we just want to use the rounded edge. When I have gift cards that are expired, I just cut them in half so I know that it's finished, but I keep the card because I use it in my art. So I just pop it in my art container, and then I have it for whenever I want. So you'll need that too for some of the soft feathery tufts on the side of the owl. This works really well for that. So with my number 8 brush and just plain clear water, I'm going to wet my canvas. Whoops. I'm going to go all the way around the outside of the owl. So I'm not doing on the owl. It's okay if you go over the eyebrows, but I'm just using clear water. And I'm just getting my canvas wet. If you're coming on and you're using acrylics, then we'll be putting on an ochre base. If you're using any other medium or markers, then you can make your background into an ochre or yellow color with the darkest part at the top, and then gradually lighter near the bottom. So just going around the owl, around the outside. If you tip your canvas, if you're putting water on and you tip your canvas, you can see if you've missed a spot, because that spot will be dry or will look different than the rest. So just have a look and just see that you've got all of it covered. if you have dripped water onto your owl, onto the owl's face, just tap that dry. So just use your paper towel. And so I'm going into ochre. I had to go to the store and replenish my ochre, so I have fresh ochre. And I'm going to start at the top with my wet canvas with the ochre. And I'm still using the same brush. So this is wet on wet technique. And I'm not adding a whole lot more as I go down because I want it to just get lighter and lighter. But by wetting the canvas first, it activates the canvas to be able to accept the watercolor. So you can see I'm not really too concerned about it being perfect. It's a little bit darker at the top and it gets lighter as I go down. It's a little bit uneven. Some spots lighter, some spots a little bit darker. But I want the lightest spot to be near the bottom. So you can see I've got a little bit of white around the edge of my owl, a little bit of white there. That's okay because I'm going to put some feathers there anyways. Just have fun with it. Just remember to drop your shoulders. If it gets to feel like a heavy project, just take a deep breath. So we're just doing the background to start. We haven't started any colors on the actual owl, just the background. That is ochre. If you don't have ochre and you want to make ochre, yellow and a little dot of brown will make ochre. If you don't want to go through that process of mixing and making ochre, yellow will be fine. Ochre, I just really like ochre. It gives a nice fall color. Well, actually, it's my favorite color for all seasons. We're working with the diagram that we've got, just the outline of an owl, and we've just done the ochre background, darker at the top, just by wetting the canvas and then putting the color on and just blending it down, and it's very light at the bottom, but we're leaving that owl completely open. So we've got the background done of the owl. It just graduates down, so it's dark at the top. Just gets lighter and lighter. There's a little bit of color down there. Now while we've got that ochre out, I'm going to go ahead and switching over to a smaller brush, my number 3 brush, and I'm just getting it wet, just to prime my brush, and now I'm going to do the owl's eyes. I want the inside of the eye black, so I'm going to do that outer rim. So I'll just show you where that is. So the inside will be black. The next part of the eye is ochre. So I'll just do one eye and you can see which part. So the inside is going to be black. So we'll just leave that one alone. So you can see there's actually 4 parts to this eye. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to match up the other eye with ochre. And if you go outside of the lines, don't beat yourself up about it. That's perfectly fine. So one eye is a little bit darker than the other. I'm not worried about that other. It's an abstract owl. If you want yours to be exactly the same and perfect, that's fine. So we've gone inside the owl rather than anywhere near the outside so that that yellow can have time to dry. Yellow or ochre, whatever you've got on the outside. Now, because I still want to stay away from that yellow or ochre, whatever you've got on the outside, I'm going to use black now. So it's just straight black. And I'm going to paint the nose or the beak of the owl. So that's just black. And while I'm in with the black, I'm going to do the outer edge of the eye. So I'm still leaving white in between my ochre. I'm staying away from that color that I put on. I'm just going around the outside of the eye. And if when you're painting you don't have a steady hand, it's okay if your owl's eyes look a little bit wiggly. That's okay. And while you've got that black on your brush, we're going to do the eyebrows at the top. Giving this owl a real flair. And we're still going to stick with the black. And we're going to do inside the eye. But inside the eye, I'd like you to leave a little circle. So a little circle where there's still white inside. So you're going to fill in that eye, but there's a little, actually that's not a very small dot. Maybe I'll fix that one. We're just leaving a dot in the center of the eye. If something happens and you cover the whole eye in black, or your space doesn't seem to show up, when it's dry, you can go back and put on a white dot, but you won't have to put on the white dot if you leave it in advance. Now I've got yellow on my brush. I've just picked that up, and I'm just between the eyes, I'm just going to put a little line of yellow. I'm going to add green, but I want that little dot of yellow in the middle. Yes, so make that yellow bright enough. So use more paint than water. Make that bright enough that that shows up. If you've got that big spot, that should show up. The center of the eye is black with a little white spot left. We still have more work to do with the eyes, but I just wanted to let that dry. Now we can start to work with our green. We're going to work with the body, and we're going to work with the top of the head. So let's give some little wispy feathers at the top of the head. So I'm just using a brush just at the top of that yellow and just giving some flicks of the brush. And with that same green, I'm going to go at the in between and at the bottom of the black, I'm going to do some flicks of green. So it's going to look like he's really a hairy beast. And if it starts to pull some of that black into the color, don't worry about that. That's adding on. So we're just giving a little bit of fun to this owl. He's looking a little bit out there right now. And I'm switching back to my larger brush with the same color green. And I'm going to do the owl's body. So you can see I'm working away from the face, leaving the face and the whiskers alone. I'm just coming down to the corner. So I'm just filling owl in with fun green feathers. So while you're doing that, I'll go ahead. We're at halftime already, believe it or not. So we could just take a deep breath while you're painting. And the word for today is awareness. May you know awareness. This is from the May You Know Joy meditation cards for everyday living. May you know awareness. May you know your body, your mind, and your heart intricately. May you know what makes you joyful and what causes you pain and suffering. Be aware of all these powerful signals and find every opportunity to move towards joy. Awareness will empower you to assess the situation with clarity and make wise decisions towards your greatest good. May you know awareness. All right, we've got green body. We've got some green whiskers up there on the top of the head. We've got green at the top tuft. We want just a touch. I'm going to go back to my small brush. We want just a touch underneath that yellow, just a little bit at the top of the nose. I didn't go all the way to the nose. If you do, that's fine. If you don't, that's okay. I just want a little bit of that color added on. And then we're coming back to ochre. So we've got the eyes that are ochre, and we're going to start from the side of the face, working our way out right to the outside edge. We're going to start to fill in lines all the way down close to the nose, but not touching the nose. And that same on the other side, we're just doing, it's like striping it. Some can be closer, some together, and some can be farther apart. Some can be thicker and some can be thinner. This is ochre. I'm going to use brown on this as well, but at this point, we're just doing ochre. So we're going right from the eye, right to the outside edge. It's really starting to look fun. And with my number 3 brush, I'm still using the same brush from the top corner. Underneath that black section of the eye, I'm going to make some ochre whiskers come, or wispy pieces come right out the side. I'm going to do the same on the other side. And between the green and the black on the top, I'm also going to add some of that ochre on both sides. Now that area around the eyes where it's white right now, the outer edge between the black and the ochre, should probably be dry if you haven't done any painting there for a while. And I'm going to mix red and ochre together to give me an orange. So as long as it's not the same color ochre that you've got there, you want a little bit of a red tinge. If it's different, then you'll see that it's a different color. And we're going to put that outer band around the eye. So it's a little more on the red side, a little bit more, almost orangey. And it looks like I'm picking up a little bit of the black, but I'm not worried about that because I think it's going to add to the look of his eye, or the owl's eye. And if one looks a little bit different in color than the other one, I think that's part of what makes it even more abstract. And I'm just going to take that ochre right to the edge of the eye so that that white on the outer edge is filled in. This is red and ochre mixed to make it like a reddish orange in between that ochre and the black, so that you have that orangey look. Out here is ochre. About 1 inch, about a ½ an inch from the top of the eye, just down, just about a ½ an inch. I'm going to put brown or burnt umber. So I'm just adding on top of my ochre I just want that to be a little bit darker than what's currently there. So that's burnt umber sitting on top of my ochre, and I'm taking it right to the side of the eye so that the white is covered. So this is just burnt umber sitting on top of ochre, just about an inch down on both sides. So let's give this whole face a little bit of definition. So I'm taking black paint where I have my pencil mark on one side. I want it to be just wet enough on that black paint so I can just dot a little bit of clear water. And this is where I'm going to use my card. So I'm going to start making wispy whiskers or feathers, a feathery look for my owl. So I'm using my card and just pulling with the rounded corner. And if some of the lines go on the inside of the face, that's okay. I'm not worried about it. I want a little bit of abstract. So just take a deep breath, drop your shoulders. Just a piece of paper. Okay. And if you have one side done, then we'll do the same on the other side. So I'm just dotting black paint. And then I'm using clear water and just touching water on top of that black paint so that I know it's fluid. And then I'm just pulling. So this effect of using the card is very good for grasses. It would be very good for certain petals. It might be good if you were doing other animals besides this owl. If you wanted a kitten, perhaps, then you could have a nice soft look on the outside. It's great for trees. I'm just going to run a straight line with my brush down the side of my owl. And I've got some tufts that I've drawn in that are penciled in. And those that are penciled in, I'm just going to extend them a little bit, give them a softer look just by using my card. So right now this owl looks like it's just got a great big green body. We're going to give it the look of feathers with ochre. So I'm just going to do the look of feathers throughout my owl's body. And some are lighter and some are darker, and I'm going to carry it all the way down, but I am breaking it into rows. So I've got a row of feathers here in ochre sitting on top of that green. And I've got another row of feathers. So they're not necessarily anything except a brush stroke. Just going in a downward motion. So that's just ochre on top of the green, just doing little rows, looking like tufts of feathers. So hopefully this gets you not afraid to put on color. Lots of different colors, different variety. And while that ochre is still a little bit wet, I'm going to put sporadic strokes of color of burnt umber just here and there while it's still wet. Just putting that burnt umber in there, here and there, not to overdo it, but just a few, so it looks like those feathers have a little bit more energy. And we want to finish that base with little tufts. I'm just using my brush, coming all the way down around, leaving that nose open. And I'm going to come around to the other side. So now his face is complete, his eyes are completed. I can use my credit card and just do a little pulling if I want, if it's wet enough, just like it is. So I'm just going to add a little, just a dot of water. And I can pull that down just to exaggerate that a little bit. I'm going to also on the body just give a little bit of drawing just to give that upper body a definition for my owl. And we're going to make this a girl owl with really big eyelashes. So I'm going to give her some really fun eyelashes. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to take just a little splash of green at the top of my owl's forehead between her eyes and use my credit card. And I'm just going to pull some more of that green up. Just go a little bit higher. And her green seems to have faded just a little bit. We know watercolor dries 20 to 30% lighter from when you put it on. So I'm just choosing while I have a moment. You don't have to, but I'm just choosing to go ahead and just darken that green just a little bit. Just add a little bit more color back on. It just dried a little lighter than I wanted. Oh, I pulled up a little extra green because it looked a little bit sparse up there. And I added more green because I thought mine kind of faded. So I wanted it just to be a little darker. And that's up to you. You can leave it the way it is if you like the color, or you can add a little bit of darker color. But I hope you enjoyed that. That's a little bit of a different project.